Welcome back to the Revealed Report. Well, we were promised that we would have bombshells. I mean, it was going to be bombshells that's going to take President Donald Trump down. However, we do see that there are some bombshells, but it's not really going the way the Democrats thought it would so far, as we can see that there was many Democrats tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we do know it's going to take a little bit of time for the releasing of the Epstein files since Trump has agreed to release them. We'll see how this all pans out and plays out. Although Chucky Schumer is already trying to put Donald Trump in a corner and saying there should be no funny business, no redactions or anything like that. But they know there's always going to be some legal redaction that takes place. So they're trying to paint a picture that anything that takes place with that, Donald Trump is absolutely guilty. They're real clever. And I will say, I think that the Democrats had outplayed Donald Trump and the Trump administration on this one. And we'll see if he'll pay a price for that. However, what we're seeing is that this is becoming embarrassing to the Democrats. And one of the most embarrassing things we're seeing right now is with Jasmine Crockett. And let's take a look at her and the comment she made and the defense that she made towards the Congresswoman that Stacey Plaskett, who was actually texting Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing. And listen to this embarrassment here.
One Democrat who's been on defense over Jeffrey Epstein is Stacey Plaskett. She represents the Virgin Islands. She was texting with Jeffrey Epstein the day of Michael Cohen's hearing. Her questions pretty closely followed the text messages between the two of them to ask about Rona Graff, Trump's longtime assistant. You were defending her today or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor, doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people?
I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled, and that.
Okay, first of all, let's talk about a few of these things here. She's saying that she didn't have enough time to do research, and so they just rushed it out there, and they made this accusation that that Lee Zeldin was involved with Jeffrey Epstein, receiving money for Jeffrey Epstein. And Lee Zeldin comes out and he on X, and he says that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but it was not the Jeffrey Epstein. It was a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. And so now here she is putting a false accusation out there. And now she's going to claim, well, it's because we didn't have enough time, but we just did a quick Google search. That's what we did. And oh, by the way, it's the Republicans' fault we did that. It's not our fault. And we weren't trying to make a false accusation or paint some kind of wrong picture. No, no, no. It's the Republicans' fault for rushing us to do this. If I wasn't in a rush, I wouldn't have done this. Let's continue it. It gets even more entertaining and crazy.
Specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein.
She's saying, oh, I didn't lie because I said it's a Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't say it was the Jeffrey Epstein. I said it was a Jeffrey Epstein, which everybody knows what she was trying to imply. But she's going to say, no, no, I wasn't really trying to imply anything. I just said it's a Jeffrey Epstein. And all Lee Zeldin had to do was say it was not the same Jeffrey Epstein. He didn't have to be mean to me on X. I mean, he didn't have to be rude. All he had to say, it wasn't the same Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not like those Republicans. I don't lie.
He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
a registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know. When you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein, because I knew that we would need more time to really dig in.
Such gaslighting. This is the Democrat Party for you folks. This is how they operate. They are the gaslight specialists, the gaslight kings, queens, or whatever gender they want to call themselves. This is what they do. And when can we get back to a point in American civilization and America's politics where we can just simply say we got it wrong? Yes, it was a mistake. I actually would have had more respect for her if she would have just simply said, you know what, we should have done more research. We're caught up in the political infighting. And yes, we want to win. We're trying to defeat the political opposition. And so we seen it. We thought it was connected to the Jeffrey Epstein, unless they were intentionally trying to do it. I would imagine if you Google search that, Jeffrey Epstein probably would have came up. But she could have said, we're in the midst of this battle against one another. We're trying to politically beat our opposition. We pulled that up on a search. We thought it could have been, and we put it out there. You know what? We need to retract that. We need to apologize and say we got it wrong. Honestly, because there's going to be times people get things wrong, even politicians. I would actually have more respect for her if she would have just been honest, integrable, and say, look, we're caught up in a political war and we rushed it out and we shouldn't have. But they can't do that. And I'll say this is a problem both on the right and the left for the most part, but the left are gaslight specialists. They lie continuously. If you notice, she flips the script and she says, it's the Republicans' fault. They rushed me. If I didn't have to be in a rush, if I had more than 20 minutes, we would have been able to do the legitimate research that is needed, but we didn't have the time because of the Republicans. They always flip the script, and the Republicans are evil for everything, even when it's the left doing the crime, the sin, or the evil action. They're able to flip the script and try to paint the picture otherwise. I don't think it works here. I don't think anything Jasmine Crockett says is worth much to the general public. I think everybody knows that she's Jasmine Crackpot. I mean, she says ignorant stuff all the time. It's amazing to me, though, that in America's politics, we have stooped to a level that Jasmine I almost said Crackhead Crockett. Sorry. Scratch that one for the record. Lord forgive me. But anyways, Jasmine Crockett and AOCs and Tlaibs and them can get into political positions. It's amazing to me that they have the opportunity to get into America's political positions. And what is it on the radical left? Do you have to fail your way up to the top? I mean, they had Calamity Connie Harris trying to run for the president of the United States, for crying out loud. I guess to be successful in the Democratic Party, you need to get a low IQ score, forget common sense, learn how to lie, even if you don't do it good, and you'll be able to rise up the ladder and find you a powerful position in politics, because that seems to be the way for the radical left. I don't know how in the world down in Texas, there's Jasmine Crockett out there saying some of these most dumbest things, causing a false accusation, trying to tie Lee Zeldman and others to Jeffrey Epstein, getting the name wrong because they did a 20-minute Google search, and then flips the script and says it's all the Republicans' fault. Now, it gets even worse for them because sadly, you find that she was trying to defend Stacey Plaskett, as Stacey Plaskett was in a congressional hearing trying to speak against Michael Cohen and ask him questions. And she's texting the Jeffrey Epstein, not Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein in the midst of that, even after he was convicted. And yet they have excuses for this. Jasmine Crockett was trying to excuse this away. It gets even worse. Hakeem Jeffries, the Speaker of the House, top House Democrat Jeffries, solicited campaign funds from Epstein, according to the Washington Times. And I quote, the latest batch of Epstein files published by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee includes a solicitation for money from a firm representing House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. In a 2013 email after the conviction, a representative of the New York Democrats sought to arrange a meeting between Mr. Jeffries and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm sorry, this is before his conviction. But in 2013, they're trying to arrange a meeting. The wealthy financier, who was by then a convicted sex offender. I'm sorry, I was right. I got the timing right. It continues to quote, the firm Dynamic SRG asked Epstein to attend a Democratic fundraising dinner with President Barack Obama. Quote, shoot us an email or give us a call if you would like to get involved with the dinner or would like to get an opportunity to get to know Hakeem better. Representative of the firm wrote to Epstein. He is an impressive guy and who will be a progressive voice for New York politics for years to come. Mr. Jeffries has called for the release of all the government's files related to the investigation of Epstein and his cohort, Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein reportedly committed suicide in New York City jail in 2019 as he awaited prosecution on charges of sex trafficking involving dozens of underage girls beginning in 2005. So you find that Jeffrey Epstein and Hakeem Jeffries had some involvement with one another, and they were wanting to get to know each other even after the accusations was made. It was before his conviction, but after he was accused for being a pedophile, being a sex creep. And so you find that this is tied to the Democrats. We're seeing more and more. We find that Larry Summers says he is deeply ashamed after new Jeffrey Epstein emails and will pause public engagements. And I quote, Larry Summers said Monday night that he was deeply ashamed about his relationship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, telling CNN that he would pause all public engagements as he works to rebuild trust and repair relationships. But the Harvard University professor added that he will continue teaching as some call for the university to sever ties with him. I am deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein, Summers said. While continuing to fulfill my teaching obligations, I will be stepping back from public commitments as one part of my broader effort to rebuild trust and repair relationships with the people closest to me. New details of Summers' relationship with Epstein emerged last week when a House committee released emails showing years of personal correspondence between the two men, including Summers making sexist comments and seeking Epstein's romantic advice. Summers' first statement addressing the newly unveiled Epstein correspondence comes on the heels of Senator Elizabeth Warren calling on Harvard to sever ties with Summers and putting new pressure on the elite university to hold Summers accountable for his close friendship with Epstein, end quote. And so you can see that this, as it begins to unravel, the Democrats are left scrambling because this seems to be tied to the Democrats while they're trying to say this is going to be bombshells. We got dirt on Trump. We're going to take Trump down. I told you all it's going to be is a distraction. And when it's fully released, all it's going to be is a distraction. It's going to distract from what Trump is accomplishing. And it's also going to be used to divide the base. That's why they are strategically putting it out now. We know that the radical left does not care about the victims because if they did, they would have been releasing it long before this. They would have been, if they were wanting to use it to take Trump down, they would have been leaking it out and using everything they could to take Trump down when Biden was in office. It's not about any of that. They don't really care about the offenders. And this should be offensive to everybody who really cares about the women who were abused. And we do deeply care. We find that now they are strategically using what was the abuse of women, underage women, to girls, to try to just take down their political opposition. It has nothing to do with the victims. It has everything to do with trying to take Trump down. That's even more sick when you're using the pain and the suffering of others as a tool, as a weapon against your political opposition, because taking down your political opposition means more than caring about the victims that were victimized. That's the radical left for you. The truth of the matter is they're the party that doesn't care about the life of the unborn. They don't really care about anybody's rights unless it serves their objective, unless it's good for the collective mission that they have. And the moment that you're no longer good to the collective mission, they'll stab you in the back. Just ask Chucky Schumer, as they turned on him after he was trying to do everything he could to meet their demands. And when it failed, they turn on him because the radical left lean towards Marxist collectivism, which means that you only have individual value as long as you're fitting into the collective agenda and the collective holds good. And so we can see that they're going to turn on each other. They're going to infight. But the radical left is going to use the victim's pain and suffering to try to divide the base of the right. And we see that that is happening for multiple reasons. I covered it in my last episode. Number one, because we all had a common enemy during the radical left's administration, especially during COVID-19, and that we all didn't see our variations of difference and our shades of difference because we came together to defeat the radical leftist ideology because of its sick poison that it was to our country. We didn't want drag queen story hours. We didn't want men competing in women's sports. We didn't want the sexualization of America, and especially the youth. We didn't want LGBTQ2 plus being pushed in every aspect of our life. We didn't want their tyrannical reign down on us. So we came together and we fought against the left and we won. Now that we won, we're beginning to see the differences that we have, which does automatically, organically cause a divide. But also, President Trump is about ready to possibly be the lame duck. And if we lose the midterms, then there's going to be a lot of gridlock, which means that a lot of his goals and his mission is going to be slowed down. So then the base is going to be turning to compete on who's going to be the next runner and what are they going to do to shape the Republican Party for the years to come, because Trump's no longer going to be the president. That's what this is all about. The radical left knows that, so they're strategically using it to try to divide the base, to try to separate what seems to be MAGA, to see who's the real MAGA and the false MAGA, and begin to divide the base and try to hurt us. That's all they can do, is try to divide and conquer. And that's why they're using the Epstein files right now. Has nothing to do with the victims. It has to do with them trying to take down their political opposition, either by digging up some kind of dirt so they can try to impeach them again or whatever, or divide the base. That's what this is all about. Now we see that the Epstein file thing is really backfiring on them so far, because the Democrats are seeming to be tied to it, which is exactly what President Trump said. It's going to be mostly a Democrat thing. I believe he's correct. I don't think we're ever going to get the full picture, the full story, as much as I would love for that to happen. I don't think there's anything that's going to take Trump down. I do believe they're going to use it to divide the base more. I believe that it happened. I also believe that they're going to use it as a distraction. That no doubt is going to happen as well. I do believe it's backfiring in some ways. However, even though it's backfiring, I do have concerns with the midterms. Now, it's normal for our elections to swing one way and then swing to back. That's perfectly normal. That happens a lot. It swings one way, it's there for a while, and it swings back. And so I do believe that the Democrat Party has a good chance of winning the midterms, as much as I hate that. I've been trying to wake up America in every which way I can, behind a microphone or anywhere else, because we don't need them to come back in power. Have we forgot how crazy it is? They were the ones that wanted the tyrannical lockdowns. They were the ones that wanted to jab everybody or you get fined. They were the ones that wanted to sexualize your kids with all types of devious ideas. They're the ones that wanted drag queens in little boys and little girls' schools and their libraries. That's the radical crazy party. We can't let them back into power. However, I do believe that there's a good chance that they're going to take the midterms. And part of the reason for that is not that Epstein is going to necessarily bring Trump down, but I believe the handling of the Epstein files by the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself did not do them any favors. I believe they mishandled it. And I do believe the radical left outplayed Donald Trump when it comes to the Epstein files. I believe that was a debacle. I believe that them promising that they were going to release it on day one and then failing to do that, the way Pam Bondi did it, saying it, promising it was on her desk and she was going to release it, the way that went down, the way that Trump said, are we still talking about him? Trying to just push the American people past that, thinking his base was just going to follow that and not have any questions. I think that the radical left outplayed him there, unfortunately. And so I think that is going to help hurt Trump. And sadly, we do know that Trump lost the 2020. Yes, there was shenanigans. There was all types of cheating. Even Time Magazine put out the piece that the secret shadow campaign that saved the 2020 election. Sorry, I've been sick here late, so my voice ain't serving me the best. But so there was a lot of shenanigans. However, what did not help President Trump is they outplayed him with the 15 days to slow the spread. And so that didn't help him whatsoever. And so you can see that there was some outplaying that took place there. Now we see that there's a little bit outplaying. I think it can hurt him in the midterms. Also, the biggest thing I think that's hurting Trump for the midterms is the affordability. The truth of the matter is things are still quite expensive. Gasoline's still expensive. Groceries are still expensive. Things are still expensive. Now, I want to say that I absolutely support what Trump is doing with the tariffs and the AI race. I understand what he's doing. The tariffs is for a long-term victory. And I think it's very essential and important. And I supported Trump from day one on tariffs because I like the fact that he's trying to break the China dependency. He's pulling countries from Southeast Asia. He's pulling nations around the world away from the China dependency. He's setting the tariffs. He's bringing them to the negotiation table, and then he's doing deals for rare earth minerals, which is helping an AI stock, by the way. And so you find that he is pulling them away from China. He's wanting to beat China in the AI race and the race for rare earth minerals. That's what tariffs is all about. And he's doing a great job. That's what his negotiations with Ukraine is all about. That's what his negotiation with Australia was all about. That's why he was trying to get Greenland. I think that's absolutely genius. I think that's very vital. It's essential and it's important for the long-term stability of the United States of America. However, at the current time, things are still not as affordable as we would like them to be. They're definitely not the prices of 2002, 2003. 2022, 2023, excuse me. And so we can see that prices are still up. And so with that being the case, that is hurting President Trump going into the midterms. It's hurting the GOP going into the midterms. And I do think right now that the polls are probably accurately showing that the Democrats are leading so far going into the midterms. And now I think there is hope. We still got some road before us, but the affordability aspect is an issue. Now, I also think that Trump's messaging kind of hurt him here. Now, look, I'm a supporter of Donald Trump. I love President Trump. I voted for him 3 times. So I support our president. However, I know how President Trump operates in this. He speaks big. He speaks in faith. He speaks what he wants to do. And it's kind of like speak it into existence kind of thing. It's kind of like the think, grow rich kind of concept. And so he speaks the big picture. Also, he speaks it and he drums up faith in people and hope in people and begins to rally them behind that big vision, that big dream. And then he tries to work towards it. And a lot of times he's successful, but sometimes he can't get it to where he's saying he's going to take it. But he's speaking the dream. He's speaking the big picture. He's speaking what it is they're working towards. Now, most of the time he does great. However, when it fails, sometimes there's repercussions to that. And we find right now he came out in 2020, excuse me, in the last election when he came out and he spoke, he began to say that this is going to be the golden age and he's going to bring the prices down and all of that. I think the messaging would have been better served if he would have said, look, the economy's a wreck. Lion Biden wrecked the economy, trashed it, and it's going to take some time and we're going to have to work at it. JD Vance is now saying that, but that should have probably been the messaging at first. Now it's easy for us to say when we're not sitting in the position, and no doubt he's had more success than us. So we're not trying to be over critical by any means, but I believe in my humble opinion, it would have been better off served if he would have said, look, Biden trashed this nation, trashed the economy, just torched it. And it's going to take us some time and work with this. Be patient, trust this. We're going to work on it. We're going to work on it every day. We're going to work for the short term and the long term. The tariffs is for long term. And yes, we're going to try to work for the short term, but we can't do it overnight. there's been great damage caused. And one of the reasons that doesn't fly so well anymore, because President Barack Hussein used that throughout his whole 8 years, kept excusing it on Bush. After the 8th year, we got tired of hearing it. So now any president that says that now, it becomes kind of nullified. However, I think the messaging would have been a whole lot better if he would have said, Biden torched this thing down, and it's going to take us a while to rebuild it, but we're going to work on it every single day. I think by him coming out and saying it's going to be the golden age and all of that, and the affordability is still not really there. Yes, it's doing better. It's definitely doing better than what it was. It's a lot better than when it was under Biden, but we still are not in a place that we like. Many people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so I didn't expect it to happen overnight. That's why I totally have a grace period with this. I'm not giving up on the president. I didn't expect him to do it all overnight. However, his messaging almost sold it as if he was going to be able to. And I think that's what's working kind of against him. However, there is something that's working in his favor. And I want to tie all of this together. I think this is where it can be some hope to turn this back around. So there's a report out. CNN Business reported it. U.S. economy saw stronger than expected job growth in September, but the unemployment rate rose. So I want to tie something here that's going to make sense with what I said in the last episode. What we covered here, the latest snapshot of the U.S. labor market showed an unexpected rebound, 119,000 jobs in September, but a loss for August and a lower total for July. The report was originally scheduled for October 3rd, but released today after a 7-week delay due to the government shutdown. It comes as earnings reports from some of America's major companies flash warning signs about the U.S. economy, with consumer and businesses becoming more cautious about their spending. The September report has taken on increased significance since it will be the only snapshot of the labor market that the Federal Reserve will have in hand to assess the state of the economy when policymakers meet on December 9th through 10th. Today's data was expected to show that the unemployment rate held at 4.3% and that around 50,000 jobs were added, a far cry from last September when the U.S. economy added 240,000 jobs. So he's doing great on the creation of jobs. So now let me say how I believe that Trump is going to tackle the affordability issue. I don't think the prices are necessarily going to go back to 2022 and 2023. I just don't think that. However, to get the prices down, it's the law of supply and demand. And so you got to get the supply up so that way you can drive the prices down. So now the jobs are being created, but you need people to fill those positions. I think this is what the H-2B visas is all about. I believe that Trump knows that there has been a major crackdown on the illegal immigration, and now we know that there's below net zero. There's a net negative immigration rate. So that means, yes, there's Americans that could fill those jobs. However, that's a lot of jobs to fill. So he wants to bring in some people, legal H-2B visas, and fill those jobs full of people that are talented, and fill those jobs so that way you can crank up the supply. By cranking up the supply, then you begin to make things more affordable. Not only that, you can bring down the inflation rate. Or the interest rate, you can begin to bring inflation down. You can bring the interest rate down. So it's just the law of supply and demand. So I believe that Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And the problem is they are using the Epstein file deal. They're using Trump's and the Trump administration's debacle of that to try to divide the base of the America First, America Only people. Now, I know this is a great schism on the MAGA right. However, there are some that are totally against the H-2B visas. They're totally against all of that. How can you do that, Trump? I think he's got a clever plan in place. He's allowing the job rate to go up. He's going to pump people in that, and he's got to do it fast. He can't take a bunch of time trying to get people out of a mindset of unemployment into employment to try to bring the supply up, so that way you can bring the affordability there by bringing the prices down, bringing down inflation, bringing down the interest rates. He's got to do it quickly, especially with the midterms coming up. I think he's trying to do this at a rapid warp speed. Now that the jobs are there, hurry up and crank these people, get them in there, get them working, get the supply up, and then you can bring the prices down. You can bring the interest rates down. And once you do, you can stimulate the economy and it booms. Then you have tariffs working for the long terms, and this is the short-term game. I think that if Trump can do it and he can successfully pull it off, there's time to turn things around by the midterms. That's my prediction. I believe that's undoubtedly what Trump is doing, and that's why on the MAGA right, on the conservative right, we can't be turning our back on the president right now. We can't act like now all of a sudden he doesn't know what he's doing, that he's not trying to put America first, that he's not trying to be out for America's best interest. It's not that he doesn't want Americans to take the jobs. He's trying to quickly get the supply up. He's trying to balance this all out. He's trying to bring affordability, because if he doesn't, we're going to lose the midterms. It's going to gridlock everything. And then all the mission's going to be halted until we get to 2028. And so I think we just need to sit back, relax for a moment, support the president. Don't get a weak-kneed now. Don't turn our backs on him now. Let him work. He's done this many times. Many times the radical left comes out and they accuse him for something, and then people on the right start questioning him as if he doesn't understand what he's doing anymore. I think what he's done is he's already done the first stage of getting the jobs up. We know that the AI stock is booming. He's got the jobs up. He's going to rush them in, get the supply up, bring the prices down, bring the inflation down, bring the interest rates down, get the market going, get the economy running. That's my prediction of what he's doing. And so I think that we just need to support him right now. Don't let all the distraction. That's what Trump was worried about. People say, well, Trump's trying to cover something up. They're not going to have dirt to bring him down. That's my prediction. I tell you humbly, if I'm ever wrong, I'll confess that. I don't believe they have dirt to bring Trump down. I do believe they have distractions to try to divide the base. That's what they're trying to work to do. Trump knows they're going to try to do that. He knows they're going to send him back in the kangaroo court where he's going to be blasted on mainstream media all the time. That's going to fill all the headlines, try to divide the base, and ultimately it's going to work against the mission. And it's going to cause the base to turn and possibly make everything ineffective, lose the midterms, gridlock everything, halt the mission. And so we need to support the president right now. And look, I told you, I think he got outplayed. However, I think that right now we need our side to win. We especially need our side to win going into the midterms. We must win the midterms. And so, America, I don't think it's time to get nervous right now. I think it's time to stick together on the conservative side of the aisle, support our president, pray for the United States of America, win the midterms, and everything's going to be fine. America, I love you. Hey, if you haven't got it yet, you ought to check it out. The Final Flame. It's a novel mystery thriller. You can find it on Amazon. Unless you want a signed edition, you can email us at revealedpublications@gmail.com. We'll give you the details on how to get a signed edition. It's a great novel mystery thriller written by your favorite podcast host. It's got a lot of plot twists to it. It's got clean romance. It's got truth packed in it. By the way, here at 7:45 p.m., we will be back for the Oracle podcast. We're diving into Revelation, the 8th chapter. So if you are one of the audience listeners that like the Bible content as well as the political content, tune back in at 7:45 p.m. as we dive deeply into the book of Revelation, chapter 8. America, I love you. I'm praying for our nation. I'm praying for our president. I'm not getting distracted by all of this. I'm praying that he can really get the economy, the affordability there, and that we win the midterms. I know the church is going to be standing tomorrow. Jesus said, upon this rock, the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. But if America hasn't been totally burned down by then, I'll see you then. God bless. Have a great night.